the time for me and what I do. Like, I'm never going to be like oh, I didn't get my nails done because I didn't have time. I'm sorry, but if I like getting my nails done, my pedicure time is my time. So I'm going to make sure that it fits into my schedule. And everything else is just where you're like, now we can fill in the blanks with the business. Because in all honesty, if we really want to just get stuff done, we would prioritize it and we would get it done in the time that we block for it. And or you can just be the agent who shows up at the office, has no plan, and feels like you lead generated all day. But did you?
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. Today, we had an amazing opportunity to talk to Dani Hampton, who is an agent over in Fort Worth, Texas, talking about mental health. And I think that's something that is kind of overlooked in real estate, and we kind of just accept it as our doom almost, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, and I think that we all need this today more than I think that you guys really realize, more than we realize. I think that today is going to be super influential. You're going to want to take the next 30 minutes set aside for you in figuring out how can you best overcome some of those things that we don't even realize we're dealing with on a daily basis as entrepreneurs, as salesmen. Really, I think this is going to be super encouraging to all of us. So let's give it a listen.
All right, guys, let's dive right in. And we're talking today with Dani Hampton, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about mental health in real estate. So can you share with us a little bit about your journey through real estate? How did you get started?
Well,
Where did you begin?
Well, thank you for having me, you guys. So my name is Dani Hampton. I have been in real estate for 11 years, which I start to think that I'm not old enough to say that. I'm the OG of before the market started to do all the roller coaster ride.
Yep.
And so I got started at the age of 22, and I honestly felt like I got led into it because I bought my first house when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And I will fully admit, when you get a flyer on your door that says you can buy a house with almost no money, and they're approving everyone, because this was back in 2009, I'm like, sure. So fortunately, the first home that we purchased was kind of what led me into real estate, because through that experience, we had to sell our very first house because we kind of made a bad decision because we didn't have a real estate agent help us. We just went to a builder, signed some papers, got approved, and we bought a house. There was a lot of things we didn't consider. And so when we were on our journey to be like, no, actually now we're starting to consider, like, we want to grow a family. We want to, live closer to our parents, all those things. We were like, okay, we need to move homes. And when we were going through our first true real estate agent experience of having someone come over and sit down at our dining room table, I was like so oohed and awed by his presentation and all the things. And I even had made a comment of me being in a sales role. I worked in an apartment complex, and I was like, oh, I never even considered that being a career path for me. And so I ended up just was like, oh, how do you even become a realtor? And he told me, and he said, hey, whenever you get your license, give me a call. And I don't think he actually thought I was going to do that, but I did. I called him 6 months later, and I was like, okay, I got my license. What do I do now?
That's awesome. And that was 10 years ago, you said? 11 years ago,
Yeah,
really.
I got 11 years ago. I got my license in 2013.
And where is home for you? So you said you moved closer to home.
Okay, so we live in Fort Worth, Texas. And obviously Dallas Fort Worth is just a big giant area. So you could say you live in Fort Worth and I can drive an hour and still be in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, lots of things especially when I have out of state clients moving here, I'm like, okay, you can tell me Fort Worth, but we're going to start talking about some real specific points.
Yeah. That's kind of how it is where we live too. Where like you can drive for 30, 45 minutes and you're still in our town.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
crazy.
Drive isn't sit in traffic.
Really.
Yeah. True.
For sure, for sure. So
Yep.
I know you speak a lot about mental health and challenges that you faced over your career. So can you kind of start to dive into that, like kind of different turning points? I know, I started real estate in my early 20s, and you kind of grow up in this industry as a person, but really as a business owner too. So can you kind of talk about the growth that you've seen over the years, the mental health aspect of that? And what does that look like in your history?
Okay. I love that you brought it up that way because I think that when you're getting into real estate, you're having to find that confidence, right? Because when you are a real estate agent, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm going to bring you to the home that I believe, based off my knowledge of the area and all the things. But before I even get to actually work with a client, they have to agree to work with me.
Yeah.
So you have to be pretty confident in who you are. And I believe in the beginning of my real estate career, I probably worked with a lot of fake confidence.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Probably just like, I'm like, oh, so it's like how I got friends, right? Like, okay, if I'm a likable person, then I can do sales. And in the moment of like any other job I've had where it was like, I'm going to show a product or I'm going to show an apartment complex and it's really just like a 1, 2 day thing versus I have to have a client like me for multiple months, basically. And so in that moment, you're over here like, I'm going to work with everybody, right? Like that's what I feel like a lot of us in real estate, we're just like in the moment, we're just trying to build up our pipeline. So we're like, oh, I'll just try to work with everybody. But then you're realizing, oh crap, I don't want to work with everybody because some people don't bring the best out of me.
Yep.
So I think like just looking at my time period of being in real estate from starting in my early 20s, and I think all of us are figuring out who the heck we are in our 20s. Um, I think we're like getting away from you graduated high school, the college years. If we even went to college, I didn't. I got married at 18 years old. So there's so many like identity shifts that I think happens. And then when you're in a sales job where you're having to basically convince someone, hey, I have the knowledge, I have the professionalism, I have the resources, tools, and things that will help guide you to make this one of the largest financial decisions you can make. You have to be pretty confident with who you are. And so I think just going from 20s of maybe a little bit of fake confidence, just kind of the fake it till you make it attitude, right? I don't know if you guys
Yes.
had any of that.
Oh, 100%. Still doing it sometimes.
Well, and we always talk about getting people to know, like, and trust you. So like that's really like the key to sales, is getting your clients and attracting the right audience too. So we talk a lot about that in marketing. Like who are you talking to? You should be talking to the ideal audience that you want to be working with, that naturally is going to be attracted to you. So it's an easier know, like, and trust. But I definitely can see that from like the early 20s to now, like into the 30s and then 40s. It's like it's less about the other person, more about yourself. A little bit more confidence, the fake it till you make it concept, all of those things. I think that that's really what when we talk about mental health in real estate, that is where the challenge is, because you have so many different pieces of like the psychology of selling, and it's super reflective of you, who you are, and a lot of questioning. Wait, am I good enough? Wait, is this the right fit? Is it a me problem? And it's really just dealing with people.
hmm
So
Well, and I
very
think that's
interesting.
like the burnout. I think that's the burnout feeling that a lot of agents are getting, right? Because for one, it's so scary to go into a full commission role. And to go into a full commission where, if this one deal doesn't close, like obviously you need to have this pipeline of business to be able to make sure that you can, depending on whatever your financial situation is, which I basically told my husband to quit because I knew it would make me work harder.
Mhm.
Because I was like, I just know that if I felt like I was doing this as a hobby versus like I have to keep a roof over our head, I'm probably going to treat this more like a business versus oh, I'm in sales and I get a commission check here and there. And, but I think having that, like truly knowing who you are, and that's what I feel like I've been trying to coach a lot of agents on, is understanding who you are and who you best serve, right? Who do you best work with? That's actually going to bring the like best out of you. And I think that when you're in, I don't want to say like it's uh, such a hustling, I mean, it is kind of a hustle environment, right? Depending on what brokerage you work for or the area you live in. Because I know I have a really good friend who is like the top agent in Idaho. Man, life is so different for her in Idaho than it is for me here in Dallas Fort Worth. And so, but that hustle environment of going like, I want to be the top realtor, or I want to, sell more homes next year. And then at the end of the day going, but am I truly being my best self for my clients? And then also in return, am I living my best life? Because depending on what brokerage we've worked for, a lot of them speak create a life by design. And I'm like, there's been so many moments in my career that I've noticed where I let my job kind of overtake my life. And I started to probably bend on my standards and my values because I was just trying to get the client, or I was just trying to get the sale. And, but at the end of the day, once that house closes, or once that you're no longer helping that client anymore, you're left with you, right? Like you're like, this is me. And I've had too many times in my career where I felt, and this is probably, I haven't had this feeling as much anymore because I've been so focused on my mental health. But probably the first, I would say, 8 years of my business, um, it's a really sad feeling to feel empty, where you could let a deal just ruin your day, right? And that's where I was like, I wasn't showing up as a good wife or a great mom or even a good friend. I've lost lots of friends in my, in this time period because it's like I just kept letting my life just find all of this reason and meaning through my job. And I'm over here like, do I even know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
So like honestly, I think I've been like on my own like discovery of like loving me for me and like just filling my cup filling my cup before I can fill others. And that's just like in general before real estate. Like I have to fill my cup up and have a strong foundation because I can't let one deal that doesn't close like just completely take away all of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
We talk a lot about this too, about non-negotiables and like not missing kids' games and having the mom guilt and things like that. And even like recently, we've had a lot of, I mean, it's spring market in a military town, so we're pretty busy. Like spring and summer market's busy for us. Um, and so I remember like a couple months ago telling her, I'm like, I am at like my breaking point. I don't want to do real estate anymore. Like I am freaking done. And it was just because I had too much going on and like not enough, like you were saying, you weren't being like, you didn't feel like you were being a good wife or a good mom or a good friend. And it's like
being like
spread
okay on everything, but not great on anything.
Yeah, like you're just spread so thin. And it's like, especially in this business, like I tell my husband sometimes, I'm like, it's addicting. It's like you're chasing a high. Like, let's get another client, let's sell another thing, let's get this goal. And it's like, that all feels good. But at the end of the day, like my kids are at home or I'm missing this or that. And it's like, I try really hard, but sometimes that just doesn't pan out.
Well, and I think it's also like the cycle of this too. So like what you're saying, like you get to a certain point and it's like the roller coaster of I'm completely maxed out. Okay. I get back to like I'm okay. I'm completely balanced. And then it's really hard to say no to the people that are in front of you. And we can't control that the right house presents itself, here, there, or wherever. And so I think that when you're looking at like mental health and the importance of this and like, especially women in business, I think, a lot of our listeners are women. And I know working with men versus women, in our real estate team and just in life in general, for us, it is consistently second guessing. Are we good enough? And are we doing enough for other people?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're saying, like, okay, but me first, me first. That is such a not natural response as women, and especially successful women in the sales industry, in this, this business. It is so difficult. So I love this reminder for us as salespeople, but really as moms, wives, friends. I love that you say friends, because I'm like, wait, friends? What?
Yeah.
If you're not a realtor, I'm like, I mean, I can count on one pinky how many friends that I have. And it's like, it's funny because I look at like the agents that we are around, we're like, hey, we need to get together. We need to do a social lunch, whatever. I'm like, wait, that's not really a friend group, because you're
Yeah.
talking about work
No,
the
because
whole
we talk
time.
about work.
And
Yeah.
you
Oh my gosh, we
reschedule it
You
do.
reschedule it.
100 times.
Because
Yeah.
because we'll forgive each other,
Yes.
because we're always like,
Yes.
oh
Oh
no,
gosh.
I have a final walkthrough. I have to, I have to change the plans.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like I'm starting to create friend groups outside of real estate that are going to be like, almost like, no, we're going to lunch. We said we're
Yeah.
going to go to lunch. We're going to go to lunch. And I'm like, you know what? I want that, because I think at the end of the day, I get to tell my clients when I'm available. And I'm going to only work with clients that knows that at the end of the day, I'm also a human.
Yeah.
So just like they're juggling all the things, I have to juggle all the things. And the shift I've seen in my career over the last 5 years, like, you guys, my nights are peaceful. My weekends are peaceful. My clients do not blow me up. My clients, if they text me at 8 p.m., they always start with, I'm sorry, and you do not have to respond. And
How do you
I
do that?
wish I had that. How do
Well, how did you get to that?
Yeah, how did you get to that? I was
absolutely.
like, my eyes got huge. I'm like, wait, what?
I think
It's
that's a
possible.
constant thing that we talk about, is like, is balancing like what's urgent and what's not, and us wanting to be responding like on a dime, so that you don't pile that into the next day. It's like, is it easier just to respond now? But then you open Pandora's box, and it's like, okay, well, that
Mhm.
turned into a 3-hour, 11 o'clock at night conversation. Share about how you do that. We would love to know
Yes.
how.
I got my pen. I'm ready.
How did
Well,
that
I
happen
feel
for
like,
you?
I think just even noticing, so obviously like figuring out yourself. So I honestly know that even at the end of the day, if I had to do some negotiations, you guys, I figured it out after 8 p.m. that is not a good Dani. That is not the Dani you want negotiating on your behalf. That is not the Dani, because it's emotions. Like, I will lead with emotions. And because I'm drained from the day, because I mean, most likely I've already put my kids to bed, I've already had to go be mom, like, just changing your hats, like, so many times in the day, like, that's just, it's emotionally draining. And so I just started to be very more upfront of just having that human conversation with my people, and just telling them that, hey, I'm going to show up as your real estate agent. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to make sure that you have all the information you need to feel confident about the decision you make when you're writing an offer, or when you're deciding when's the right time to put that for sale sign in my yard. But the other side of that is that I am also a wife, and I'm also mom, and I never want to lose that. And so, I will always be basically on for you during these times. If I'm not available, I understand people need just a response sometimes. So I'll usually just be like, during this time, I will always, give you a thumbs up. It's not like I'm ignoring you, but I want you to know that your message has been seen. I also have a team pretty much connected to every text message. So I am in 1,000 group messages. My assistant is on all messages. So in the event that your text message, because we can all admit, and I don't even think you have to be in real estate, I think all text messages are getting buried right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have spam text messages and all the things. So I'll usually say, I'm like, that's why I really rely on my group messages, because if I, for some reason, don't follow back up with that message, it is my assistant's job to make sure that everyone does get connected to. And I can tell you, hey, great question. I'm going to get back to you tomorrow morning. So, as even how I've coached agents on my team, that it's just like, hey, sometimes just human nature, we just want to know that we were heard. So, hey, saw the message. Great. Can I get back to you tomorrow morning? And the more and more that I did that, the messages started to change. I could notice that my clients were even like, you know what? I wanted to ask this last night, but I decided to wait till the morning.
That's awesome. Like I love that, but I'm also like some of my clients would be like, "No, can you just answer it now?" You know? Not all of them.
Yeah.
Some like onesies or twosies.
And I wouldn't say I don't have my onesies or twosies. And that's where I tell a lot of people too. I'm like, hey, are you okay with audio messages? Because it allows me to sometimes still be mom. Like I can, if I am like at a game or something, then, but my client's just like one of those, like she might be stressed and spiraling. And, at the end of the day, like I tend to be more empathetic to my clients because I've been through the experience that I'm like, yeah, you might just need that response right now. And so I'm like, instead of me getting on a 3 hour phone call with you, how about I just send you an audio message and I'm going to explain to you the probably what you need to know right now and then what's going to happen. And then it allows them to process the information instead of us having to go on a phone call and just talk through it. Because I feel like sometimes people just actually need more time to process. And I feel like a lot of my 3 hour phone calls I used to have in the years past have now turned into these quick 2 minute audio messages. It processes, next day, problem solved.
I
That's
like
a
that
great
you
tip.
yeah, I like that you use the audio message because sometimes text messages can still be confusing even though you
Mhm.
can reread it 100 times. But listening to your voice, you can, switch your tone, switch your pitch to kind of make people feel more comfortable or, get your point across a little bit better using your voice.
It's the great strategy, honestly. I feel like just in general, especially too when we're on the go, like you were saying, like you don't have to be buried into a text message. You could just be voicing, whatever your response is through that. So it's a really, really good takeaway for sure.
Well, and so a couple of things. So other than just like kind of having those non-negotiables, you guys brought that up, the non-negotiables, and it's like, so after 8 p.m., I won't negotiate a contract. I just won't. Like it's just not in their best uh, interest if I do. If I have a client feeling rushed and urgent, I'll usually, like I said, I'll do a lot of things where I'll go, are you okay with audio messages? Because I'm going to give you just to put my voice to this and help them understand why I feel like let's go ahead and wait until the morning. I'm never going to let you lose a house. Like I do like to sleep at night. So I never want to feel responsible for you not getting a house. But I've just learned so many times that nothing was saved because I worked at 9 p.m.
Mhm.
And I was like, but what did I throw away was my time with my husband. Like, that's the part where I'm like, you really need to protect those times. And in like, just like how we don't blow up our doctor's phones at 9 p.m. And I'm not saying we're doctors, but I'm not over here freaked out because my doctor doesn't answer their phone at 9 p.m. So I'm over here just like, no, I'm just changing it. Like, this is what you have to set the expectations. If people send messages, I just really started to honor my do not disturb on my phone. I really started to honor certain times that I absolutely need to be able to pour into my marriage, to pour into my kids. I'm still working on the working mom life because I am very guilty. I still do walk around with my phone. My kids are chasing me down like, you forgot your phone.
Yeah.
um, but my other piece is that I do my me time, my morning routine. Once I go work out, I come back, I shower when I'm in my robe, and pretty much everyone knows in my household, like when mom has her caffeine and her robe on, all the things, like they know that it's my time to journal, I have my devotional, just to be able to have that time for myself. And uh, I'm very faith driven. So I feel like I have to start with God. And then I need to have that time with Him, have that time with myself. And I was given, I call it a gift because one of the mentors in my real estate world, because, we don't have any other friends that are not realtors, right? Um, he had mentioned to me something that he did was a daily routine, which was he would go on a walk, he would listen to worship music, and then he would come back home and he would journal. And I was sitting over here like, this man has a diary. Like, at first I was like, is this really what he's telling me? Um, but I got to that point where, like I mentioned earlier, is that I didn't realize how much I was just pouring my cup out and I wasn't filling it back up. And I have honestly discovered so much more about myself and who I am through the gift of journaling. Um, I did start, and I tell a lot of people this, and this is even to my non-realtors. I'm actually telling more of my mom friends. I'm like, please journal, because there's just even been little conflicts I've solved through my reflecting of like my conversations with my 9-year old, which she's obviously teaching me way more than I'm teaching her. That I'm just like, oh yeah, I could have done that differently. As I'm like venting, because all that energy I'm just keeping inside myself. So I started with journaling, but a lot of people have a hard time really opening up. I guess it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's opening up the floodgates, but it's just really just opening up to be able to truly just free write.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always suggested to get guided journals. There's a million guided journals out there that's asking you questions, and it's easier to answer questions than it is to get inside your head and go, what do I want to put on paper today?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one in specific that you could recommend?
I
Like what?
do.
Oh, okay.
I do. I was like, actually, I wonder if it's in my drawer. Um, I think it's called the 5 minute gratitude journal. And I can definitely send over a link to, I got it on Amazon. I usually buy it as a gift to people. It's a lot of self-reflection questions. It definitely helps you get into the state of gratitude every day. So you always practice gratitudes. But then it reflects on like, what was something great that happened yesterday? Just very simple questions, but you don't need to make the commitment of like longer than 5 minutes. So my time to myself, even if sometimes it feels really short, like some days it's 15 minutes that I'm just doing my journaling and my devotional, but it's just one of those things where it's almost like it's my prescription. Like I
Yeah.
have to have this to run my day.
I love all of this. I'm like super, super intrigued on like how all this comes full circle. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and kind of wrap up a couple more strategies that Dani uses just really to work life balance. I feel like it's really, really encouraging to hear from you. Are you looking for ways to become more efficient and save time in your day as a real estate agent?
We've got the thing for you. We have created 18 done-for-you email templates that cover the entire process on the buying side and the selling side. The best part is that this is only $49 and includes customizable email templates for the process to get you through start to finish with your buyers and sellers. Head over to realestateable.com/email templates, and that's where you can find them.
It's crazy though,
Yes.
because I feel like the universe right now is telling us, like we were talking with another guest about atomic habits and self-care and continuously doing the same thing day after day, like getting yourself into a routine. It's definitely like the theme of mental health with sales right now for sure.
Yep. I think, I mean, just even this has probably been, like you said, it's been a conversation. It's been something that's been on my heart because I just feel like it's not talked about enough. And because the real estate market is really hard right now, right? Like it's challenging. I mean, I am blessed enough that I've been in this business long enough that, me finding clients is really not that hard because I have a book of business. I have a referral based business. So, am I seeing, more numbers or homes sold than I've ever had before? No, I'm definitely just making it. But I think to the point of just like, you know what, I love this opportunity of the market being in this slowdown because it really allows us to truly go, why am I doing this? Right? Like, why? why am I doing this job? What do I really want from this experience? What do I really want for my clients in this experience? And um, I think it's just such a cool opportunity to just be able to really reflect, like you were talking about before, just knowing who your audience is, because we got to get out of that culture that we literally have to go be available and help every single person out there. I think you just got to figure out who you best serve. And then, but I think that people are so quick to just throw away their own selves. Like we'll self
Mm-hmm.
sabotage all day long. So, sticking to those, like that tiny little habit, like my 15 minutes a day is the thing that grounds me. Um, it's super important.
But I think that like when I look at like right now and talking with agents, mentoring agents, the agents we work with, um, right now it's so much about we've come off of such a volume based um market, like volume, and now we're in a less volume market, which I'm like, this is still abundantly over and above and beyond. I
Mm-hmm.
started just before you in real estate. And so I'm like, man, we are still in such a state of abundance as an industry. And so when I look at that, I'm like, keeping yourself and your feet grounded into who you are and attracting those people and not worrying about it being, as many as I can. It's really about the people that are going to create the life by design. Really, that concept, I think that is going to attract more numbers, more volume than anything that you're forcing into existence. I think as a whole, we're struggling as an industry. It's less, but that less has the ability to become more if you're staying grounded in that. So very, very
Absolutely. Yep.
encouraging.
Well, I think too, talking about like attracting kind of your ideal client, it's hard when you're new or you're slow to say no and turn away business or turn away a potential client. But I think that because I know like when I started in the beginning, I was like, yes, I'll take anything. If there's a scrap on the bone, like I'll try it. And so but now I'm like, hey, I'm not driving farther than an hour. I'm not going into a market I don't or a town or city that I'm not super familiar with. That's not the best service to any client. And so I feel blessed enough, to say, hey, this person might be a better fit for you versus me. And I think that that just comes with growth and experience and kind of hitting the burnout and recovering from that, just being able to pick your own client.
How many
Absolutely.
in what you're talking through, how many clients do you serve or how many families do you serve a year? Like when we're putting this in perspective for the listener, how many how many sales do you see a year?
Probably between 90 and 100.
And
That's
the,
awesome.
and that is you independently
And
or with a team that's helping support those
me
sales?
me with a team.
Gotcha.
So I definitely believe in the team support role. I think something that I didn't mention before, which was the year that I went off on my own. So I worked on two teams in my first 5 years. On my fifth year, I went off on my own as an agent, built my brand, built my name. I did take one advice, which was I'm not great at paperwork, so I should always have a transaction coordinator. So I had a transaction coordinator and I closed 52 homes that year by myself. I had a one child and she was under the age of 2.
Mm.
And my husband was not in my business. He had his own full time job. He did help me by checking my emails. But other than that, that was where I really started to notice how quickly how this job becomes quicksand.
Mhm.
And I was in that chasing everyone and anyone time because I was building my name, my brand. So I was like, I will help anyone and everyone. And fortunately, I was in a market, I wouldn't say it was the 2020 market, right? It was in a market, I think it was 2017. And I think we were just in between on the interest rates. We were around like fours and fives. I think we started to see a little bit of the 5% interest rate. But I did enough in my marketing side of my business that I did, attract people to me. But again, I didn't have standards and I didn't have those healthy routines. And I worked all day, every day, because especially as a real estate agent, oh, we can work from the couch, right? We can
Mhm.
answer our phone. We can bring our laptop to our couch. I was in my kids' playroom with all my work right next to me. And that's the piece where I was like, that's not how I wanted to live. I mean, I did not want to feel like my work is what drove if I could go to the water park with my child, right?
Mhm.
So I think the last 6 years of just the roller coaster of business and um, seeing basically figuring out who I really want to serve and who do I best serve and who am I enjoying this experience with? Because um, at the end of the day, as a professional, I mean, if I'm really going to understand who do I best serve, then that's also going to drive my marketing efforts. That's going to drive my messaging. And I think that we all, as like you were saying before, we want to work with someone that we like, know, and trust. um, I might not be the best agent for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like I have to understand that who do I most relate to, or who relates the most to me. So even currently right now, I feel like because of the last 2 years with us seeing such a shift in the market to where you could be the best real estate agent on the on the earth, and unless you uh, invested in certain areas, I started investing in everything. I was investing in masterminds and coaching and leads and online leads and all these extra, like, just CRM tools. And I saw all of my money go away. And I was sitting over here going, did I even know what I was trying to get? Like, I don't even know. I was just, in my mind, I was just chasing heartbeats that were able to go buy or sell property. And I started to realize, I was like, oh, that isn't who I am. My business, how I serve, that many clients is, I have a small team. I have agents who show homes. I typically don't show homes. I am best in market research. I am best in guiding a client on what's the best offer for them to make, or guiding a client in marketing property. I'm fantastic with marketing property. So the other pieces of my team is that they're the ones who are the best at showing homes, and they're the ones who are best at being the ones who make sure that we have all the paperwork we need to have a house go live on the MLS. So my small team definitely helps me service the 90 to 100 clients. And truly, even with all the lead sources I invested in the last 2 years, I was my eye I swear my eyeballs just like came out of my head when I realized I wasn't really serving anybody more than
Mhm.
who I already have generated in my business from my referral based business, because that's who I connect with. I don't, unfortunately, I'm not connecting with the internet leads.
Yeah, they're
And
hard
yeah. And I was
because
like,
you don't
I have
know
a lot of
them.
heart in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're humans. And that's what I was I would coach agents, and I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, they're human. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a human on Amazon. Okay. I don't want Amazon treating me any different.
Yeah.
But I think you have to know how you're structuring your business to serve that person. And I realized, I was like, oh, we were getting just in that transaction number of like, this is how our real estate business survives, versus, no, I want my real estate business to thrive, and we thrive because we put heart into our work. And because I put heart into work, because I work with people that I know I best serve, they love us, we love them. um so yeah, I mean, that's where, again, I'm like, it's, unfortunately, it would be the internet person that doesn't know who Dani Hampton is, who's probably blowing my phone up at 9 p.m. at
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally doesn't know the
night.
whole person for sure. I think that so many things that you've shared with us today are so relatable to so many of us, not just women in business. But do you have any final thoughts or anything else that I feel like you have just poured out to us so many things that we can be encouraged by, we can be latched onto. But any final thoughts that you have, and just really um, I feel like you have gone before a lot of us to be able to say, hey, this is what's worked for me, and can be an encouragement to others that are listening too.
I think I'm going to say this. If I can feel like I can give someone just the prescription to how to be a real estate agent right now in 2024 with a shifting market, but also just knowing where you are in life. So in this moment, it's just figuring out, why are you doing what you're doing? uh, who are you? And, no, really understanding that you have to have those non-negotiables, that it's not just in your business. You cannot create a business plan and not have a life plan. I'm sorry. No, you have to have a life plan and then a business plan. So you've got to get yourself aligned in the right order, and knowing what are those non-negotiables, to where it's like, I know I always have dinner with my family. Non-negotiable. I always have dinner with my family. I always put my kids to bed. I'm not going to miss out on this. There's going to be a time in my motherhood that they're not going to want me to put them to bed, and right now they do.
Yeah.
So, and then the other non-negotiables is, the time for me and what I do. Like, I'm never going to be like oh, I didn't get my nails done because I didn't have time. I'm sorry, but if I like getting my nails done, my pedicure time is my time. So I'm going to make sure that it fits into my schedule. And everything else is just where you're like, now we can fill in the blanks with the business. Because in all honesty, if we really want to just get stuff done, we would prioritize it and we would get it done in the time that we block for it. Or you can just be the agent who shows up at the office, has no plan, and feels like you lead generated all day. But did you?
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, you got to prioritize the right things in the right order. And then from there, you'll start to notice how your business flows and how you're able, like, we live in abundance. Like, there's enough people out there, there's enough homes out there. We will be able to get what we need to get done. We just actually need to attract the right people that we want to help. And I think we have to actually really honor who we are in our lives first before we can truly help others.
So
Gosh,
good.
that is so good. I'm like, reevaluating my life right now.
Well, I'm like, I've never done a life plan. I've done 17 years of business planning, never done a life plan. So, so good. If the listener wants to find you on social media, on the internet, how can they connect with you through any of the platforms that you're active on?
I am super active on Instagram. My Instagram is the Dani Hampton, and I do everything through there. I try to do everything I can to show my life, to show the balance, to show my big aha moments. Hopefully, if someone took away something today, that they were just like, "Oh, I got to do that." I promise you, I'll be in the car, and I'm like, "I got to share this," and I'll jump on my stories. So definitely would love to have more people follow along. And I love DMs. So if people feel like I, said something, or they actually have something that they want to share with me, like, I feel like, to me, Instagram is unfortunately probably where I'm getting most of my friendships at the moment, but it's awesome. It's fun.
That's okay.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on today, and we thank you so much for your time and your insights on everything mental health and real estate.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, seriously mind blown. I feel like we just got a free therapy session talking about mental health and business. Holy moly, I want to change my life.
I think it like we said throughout the episode, I think that this is such an overlooked thing. When you're in the middle of the hustle and bustle of real estate, as sales, as, even if you're not a mom and a wife or husband and a father, we're just humans. Humans, I think when we get into the hustle and bustle, we really forget about self-care, really. And I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, as in me, I am the choir. I feel like we really get away from who we are. And I know that I've had coaches and mentors and, agents over the years say, but what do you really want? I sat down with our broker recently, and she said, but you really need to think about what you want. And do we,
I've been asking you that forever.
Okay, well, most recent, the broker, What do you want in this? And I think that as entrepreneurs, and we're going so fast, that do you stop and figure out what do you really want? So my biggest takeaway today is really the theme of us creating a routine that requires you to fit in the you part into each and every one of your days. Whether that looks like the gym, self-care, journaling, so many different ideas that came out of this episode, but really fitting you into your days. I think so easily to get away from that, and so easy to come out of a busier market and forget to put that back in.
Mm.
I think that my takeaway for sure was that. But what about you?
I feel like she hit so many good points. And I think that there's two that really resonated with me. One was, it's okay to take time for yourself. Like she said, I like to get my nails done and I'm not going to miss that time. That's me time. That's my time to get a pedicure. And like, I put a pedicure off for weeks recently, and my mom like forced me to go for my birthday. And I was like, okay, let's do it, you know? So it's okay to take time for yourself. And then the other thing I liked was that she has like her morning routine, which sets her day up. I feel like I have gotten away from that more so. Like I drink my coffee every day on the couch, but that's about it. I'm not like actually investing in myself. I'm mindlessly scrolling where I could be doing more like self-reflection and things like that.
I definitely think that jumping immediately to the go button is just a habit that all of us, I think, can be breaking. So thankful to Dani for everything that she poured into us today. Make sure you go follow her on social media. You're not going to want to miss out on the daily influence of her keeping it real in real estate, which you know that's what we're all about.
You can find us everywhere on social at Real Estateable. That was terrible.
Record that again.
If you guys like this episode, make sure you give it a download and a 5-star review. You can find us everywhere on social at Real Estateable.